On March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 began its journey from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, carrying 157 souls, representing over 30 nationalities. The destination was Nairobi, Kenya. But what began as a routine flight would soon turn into a catastrophe only 6 minutes after takeoff. Tragedy struck that morning as the Boeing 737 MAX 8 plunged from the sky, leaving no survivors and the world in shock. But what went wrong? How could a cutting-edge aircraft, relied upon by airlines worldwide, suffer such a massive failure so soon after takeoff? The answer to these questions would not only lead to the worldwide suspension of an entire fleet, but also expose vulnerabilities within the heart of the aviation industry. To understand the impact of this tragedy, we first need to explore the context in which it unfolded. It all started with Boeing and Airbus. Boeing, an American company founded in 1916, has been a leader in the commercial aircraft industry for decades, known for iconic models like the 747, 737, and 777. Airbus, on the other hand, was founded in 1970 and headquartered in Europe. Considered Boeing's main competitor, gaining significant ground with aircraft like the A320 and A380. But how important are they? Well, in 2014, the global aircraft manufacturing industry was primarily led by Boeing and Airbus, followed by other smaller but significant players. The rivalry between these two companies has driven much of the technological evolution in commercial aviation. We highlight 2014 because the competition became particularly intense during that year in the market for the single-aisle aircraft, where the Airbus A320neo became a success due to its fuel efficiency and lower operating costs. This was an upgraded version of the popular A320 that featured more fuel-efficient engines and aerodynamic improvements. This development posed a significant competitive threat to Boeing, as it allowed airlines to save on operating costs, a highly attractive proposition in the competitive aviation industry. So, obviously, Boeing had to respond quickly to this challenge. But their approach raised concerns. Instead of designing an entirely new aircraft to compete with A320neo, Boeing opted for a quicker and more cost-effective solution, upgrading its best-selling model, the 737, by equipping the 737 MAX with the new LEAP-1B engines, which offered significantly lower fuel consumption. But there was a big problem with this. These engines were larger and heavier, and needed repositioning on the aircraft's wings to maintain aerodynamic efficiency. This change in engine placement had a significant impact on the aircraft's aerodynamics. The engines would push the plane's nose upward, which could potentially lead to a stall under certain flight conditions. To avoid this risk, Boeing implemented the MCAS, an automated system that adjusted the horizontal stabilizer to lower the plane's nose if it detected that it was rising too much. In theory, the system was supposed to be an additional safety measure that pilots would not need to manage manually, allowing for a safer flight. So, what could go wrong? The answer is simple, and yet might surprise you. Boeing did not adequately inform airlines or pilots about the existence of the MCAS or how it worked. This controversial decision was partly driven by Boeing's strategy to keep training on the 737 MAX as similar as possible to previous 737 models, so airlines would not have to incur costly additional simulator training. You can start to imagine why the approach of not fully disclosing the MCAS system was a critical factor in subsequent accidents. In 2017, the Boeing 737 MAX entered commercial service, and its main selling point was precisely that it did not require significant new training for pilots already certified in previous 737 models. This meant considerable savings in time and money for airlines, as they would not have to pay for expensive simulator courses or take planes out of service for retraining. It soon became a popular choice for airlines, since they could keep using the same crews without making any big changes. This approach was extremely attractive to airlines, which rushed to place orders for the new model, boosting Boeing's sales. However, the decision not to highlight the importance in training and the complexity of the MCAS system proved to be a tragic mistake. On October 29, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 another Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashed into the Java Sea just 13 minutes after takeoff from Jakarta, Indonesia, killing all 189 people on board, 181 passengers, 6 cabin crew, and 2 pilots. This would be the first fatal accident involving 737 MAX, but unfortunately, not the last. On March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 took off at 8:38 a.m. from Addis Ababa International Airport in Ethiopia. The flight's destination was Nairobi, Kenya. In command was Captain Jared Getachew, a 29-year-old pilot with almost 9 years of experience with the airline and more than 8,000 flight hours, 4,120 hours at Boeing 737. He was at the time of the accident the youngest captain at the airline. His first officer was Ahmadu Mohammed, a 25-year-old man who had recently graduated from the airline's academy. Shortly after takeoff, at around 8:40 a.m., the pilots noticed a strange flight behavior. The aircraft's automated system, including the MCAS, began to malfunction. The MCAS system intended to push the nose down to prevent stalling, and was causing the nose of the plane to pitch down repeatedly. The pilots attempted to manually override the MCAS by following the emergency procedures. They pulled the plane's nose up and tried to stabilize it, but the system's automated inputs continued to push the nose down. It almost seemed like an arm wrestle between them and the MCAS automated system. Despite their training and efforts, the pilots struggled to manage the aircraft's control. The lack of detailed information about the MCAS system and its malfunction slowed down their ability to respond effectively. At around 8:44 a.m., the aircraft was descending at a speed of approximately 700 miles per hour when it crashed into a field near Bishoftu at about 40 miles southeast of Addis Ababa. The impact occurred just 6 minutes after takeoff. The pilot's inability to counteract the MCAS system's actions, combined with the rapid descent and high speed, left them with insufficient time to regain the control of the aircraft. The crash tragically resulted in the loss of all 157 people on board, 149 passengers and 8 crew members. The news sent shockwaves not just through Ethiopia, but across the entire aviation world. It had become more than just an accident. It was a turning point, generating an impact on Ethiopian Airlines, global repercussions, and severe long-term consequences. Ethiopian Airlines' status was damaged. It had built a strong reputation as one of Africa's most successful and rapidly growing careers, but the crash had surely harmed it. Although the airline was not found at fault, the association with the crash inevitably affected public perception and trust, leading to a temporary drop in bookings and impacting the airline's revenue. The airline also faced legal challenges and compensation claims from the families of the victims. While Boeing was primarily held responsible for the crash, Ethiopian Airlines had to navigate the complex legal landscape, including negotiating settlements and managing its relationships with affected stakeholders. As for the global repercussions, the crash triggered a global grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX fleet on March 13, 2019, ordered by the US Federal Aviation Administration. Considered one of the most significant groundings in aviation history, it impacted 387 aircraft operated by 59 airlines across the globe. The grounding lasted for 21 months, with the first recertified flights resuming in the United States on November 18, 2020, and globally in the following months. The absence of the 737 MAX from service interrupted countless flight schedules, leading to financial losses estimated in the billions of dollars for airlines and severely impacting Boeing. This resulted in compensation payouts, halted deliveries, and an accumulation of over 4,000 unfulfilled orders by the end of the grounding period. The company's safety practices were also put into question, particularly the design and certification process of the 737 MAX, as it was identified as a critical factor in both crashes. This led to Boeing having to redesign the 737 MAX. It incurred over $20 billion in costs, including direct costs, compensation, legal fees, and the broader impact on the company's market position and reputation. In terms of regulatory changes, the FAA and ESA came under scrutiny for their role in the initial certification of the 737 MAX. As a result, more stringent oversight measures were implemented, which included, among others, enhanced certification process, independent software review, extended flight testing, and pilot training requirements. Boeing agreed to pay $2.5 billion in penalties and compensations as part of the settlement with the United States Department of Justice. This amount included $500 million for a fund to compensate the families of 346 victims from both crashes, $1.77 billion for the airlines affected by the grounding of the 737 MAX, and $243.6 million in fines. The Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 disaster was a pivotal event in aviation history, which could have been avoided with the correct preparation and training. This all led to a total re-evaluation of aircraft safety, regulatory practices, and the responsibilities of airlines and manufacturers. While Ethiopian Airlines has worked to recover and rebuild trust, the consequences of the crash have left a lasting mark on the airlines industry globally. To break the cycle of our mistakes, we must learn from them.